Dave Foley, Bruce McCulloch, and Scott Thompson join me here in Studio Q, as you know. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello again.
Welcome back.
Hey,
I'm going to start
viewers.
with you, Dave. What's bringing you all back together this time?
Mostly is, as usual, a gap in our schedules. No, it's just the desire to have an excuse to hang out together, really. And doing live shows is usually the time when we are forced to talk to each other and then think about other projects that we might want to do. And it's just fun for us to be together.
And what's the writing process like with the new material?
Well, we started a lot of the material that's in this show a year ago when we did a little over a year ago when we did a show in Toronto, which was the old-fashioned way, which is like get together on Monday. You've got a few little ideas and maybe you've talked through a couple things, but you'll get it together for a show on Friday. So there's something about the group energy of a lot of the pieces we're doing, and we're doing a lot of group pieces actually in this tour that happens in a room and kind of gets beat up in front of each other.
Is the writing process, I'll ask you, Scott, is the writing process different than what it was back when you guys started? You guys wrote in like pairs, right?
Well, in terms of the pairing, it's not much difference.
Yeah.
But the way that we do it is different because we're not always hanging out together. You have to really force yourself to hang out. But when we're together, it's pretty much the same.
As Bruce was saying, it sort of returned to the Rivoli days way of writing. Like on the TV show, we more broke into groups because you had to generate so much material.
Yeah.
But when we used to do the Rivoli shows, it was you had to pitch all your ideas to the group, find somebody who liked an idea, then you'd go off and work on it and bring it back to the group. But you only had 3 days to do it. So we're more in that mode now, where everyone is throwing stuff into every idea.
Yeah.
And we did that, and then now we sort of collected what we loved of that last new material show. We put in a few old, we call them classics, and things we just wanted to do. We haven't done that in a while, and that became the tour.
So, Bruce, how do you guys pick then between the new material and the classics? Like, how do you determine a classic?
Well, that's the argument. I mean, there's things that you go, oh yes, I could do that every night, like one of the scenes Scott and I are doing, and then there's other stuff somebody suggests, you go, no, I don't want to do that one. So it's really instinctive, and of course, we're not jazz musicians playing in a 30-seat club. We obviously want to please the audience.
Yeah.
So it's also no, people would like to see that. People would like to see that, and it's also about flavor and is Kevin and Dave, doing one of their scenes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Are there too many scenes about poo?
Am I in bed too many times? Because I find I'm in bed a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, you're getting on.
Yeah.
I'm getting on. I'm tired. I used to because I'm so horny before. Now I'm more tired.
I got to ask you guys, are there any, when you're mining for the classic sketches, and any of you can answer this, are there any that you just are hard to watch?
Yeah. Did you? They don't have to be. You mean like scenes from
Like
that
old
we're ashamed of?
sketches?
Yeah.
Dave and I did one that we were talking about the other day. One step at a time.
Did that
I'm
air?
embarrassed by it. It aired.
Did it make it into an episode?
Yeah, it actually made it in. It's just a horrible sketch.
Yeah,
And what
pretty
compounds
terrible.
that is that even what I'm wearing makes me ill. Like I'm wearing a yellow shirt. I remember it. It's hideous. I look horrible. It is horrible. We're terrible. There's no place for it in the show, and yet it is.
And yet it was the best sketch you've ever done.
Well, of that show. But I'm ashamed of that. You must have something.
I'm not ashamed of. I did a film piece that didn't turn out so well. Pickle, yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
He's already laughing.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce?
all kinds of things.
Well,
Kinds of
do you wanna name any of them?
things. I thought Ham of Truth wasn't great. Like,
Yeah.
I think when we got involved in sort of our filmic brain, I think sometimes those weren't as fun as the things that involved a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Do those moments make you more grateful? I know for me, when I look back at a moment, I'm like, oh, that was so, it makes me so grateful that I'm still here and doing stuff.
Well, I find when I watch Kids in the Hall, I'm more, the thing that happens to me more often is that I'll see a sketch that I hated at the time that I now like.
That's such a great feeling. Eh?
I'll go, why was I so mad about that sketch?
I think there's a lot of that. I think, was when we were young, we sort of had our walls up and it's like my stuff versus their stuff. And then I think now as we've gotten older, there has been an appreciation for all the different kinds of notes that are in the show. And I can go, that is really funny. At the time, I thought it was just silly and obvious. Yeah, it's really hilarious.
Yeah. Like there's a piece like of yours that I always hated, you and Mark, and then I've really grown to like it, which is the two of you, the street singers. Those
Right,
guys.
yeah.
Bodie Oaten Doughton guys.
Oh yeah.
And I hated them.
And
What do you like
Cops.
about What do you like about it now, Scott?
I just didn't get it. I just didn't really understand, I guess, what my being a young guy living in a shitty house the way they did, and I don't know, eating food off the floor, and not that I didn't live like that
Are we
too.
in a 7
but
second delay? I'm sorry about the language.
what did I say?
Nothing.
Yeah,
said-
but
yeah,
people
yeah.
don't mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they
they like
love
that.
to hear
They love
that,
that stuff.
in Canada,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
rural Canada.
Yeah.
So I'll put this one to you, Dave. What's the biggest difference between making comedy now versus when you started out?
Making comedy now. We're old. That's the biggest difference, really. I mean, it's changed so much. Comedy now. Like when we were starting out, the only avenue was live performance, and now live performance seems like a sort of the last thing that people think about doing when they're starting out in comedy.
Which is why I think some people that are like discovered like on YouTube, et cetera, and then they're thrust into the spotlight, they're not quite ready for it because
Yeah.
they don't have the chops that people that like we do.
Yeah.
Spoken like the oldest man in
That
the
just-
world.
Yeah,
They don't have that chat.
They don't learn their things.
What about-
When
what
we
about the
did
place-
vaudeville? You had to sing. You had to dance.
There were no cue cards.
Yeah.
But what about
It
the
was written
places
on a
you
horse
mine?
chest.
What about the places you mine for your comedy, though? Does that change over the years?
Well, it does because we've always written stuff that sort of reflects our own life, and some stuff is just silly or surreal. Like we have a scene in this show about going to see somebody's baby, and you don't really like it, and the people are obsessed and they're exhausted and fighting. Or we have a thing about food culture in this show, and I think those are things that are kind of more about our age a little bit.
Well, when we were in our 20s, we never ate in a nice restaurant, so we weren't exposed to
That's true.
food culture.
That's
we
the
would
thing that
do-
needs to be skewered, too.
Yeah.
But I think that also with comedy today, people are more quick to be outraged. I think that's what I find a big difference. Although I think when we were first coming to television, we were also in an age of extreme political
Well,
correctness.
people were more people were outraged by more back then.
Well, I think that they were really outraged. And then there was a period, like for about 10, 12, 15 years, people stopped being outraged. And then the last 4 or 5 years, suddenly everyone's constantly outraged again.
Yeah, you've really
set
thought
the scene
about
for
this.
us.
I'm always in trouble on stage.
Your show first aired in 1988, right? 1989.
The special.
The TV show started. Series started 89.
Yeah.
Special was on 87. I think.
No, 89 was
Not that important, guys.
Okay.
So
Let's get Kevin in here.
Set the scene for us. What was the comedy scene like? Was it fertile ground for what you guys were doing?
No, it was a barren plain when we started. Actually, I mean, it was.
Well, there was Second City and Yuck Yucks, but I will say, like if we want to say we were a movement, there was us, but we had other great writers. We had Bellini, Frank Van Keeken, Norm Hitchcock. We had a
Hitchcock,
bunch of other
Gary
people.
Campbell.
So we had come out from Calgary to kind of make it with Mark McKinney and a few other people. And so there was Alan George and a lot of other stuff that we kind of are the ones that kind of coalesce because there were 5 of us. But no, there was the establishment of Yuck Yucks and Second City and the
That was
Frantics
it.
and nothing
And
else.
then you had like a half dozen shows that were clones of Second City. Mm-hmm. Where it was a cast of 3 guys, 2 girls, and a piano player, and singing songs about how bad the mayor was.
And I think, like stand-up and sketch and improv were more separate. Now they've come together, and people seem to be doing all of them.
And we were kind of part of all of those worlds.
Yes.
At the time.
So was there a shared vision at that time of something unique you guys wanted to bring?
It wasn't articulated. I think it was more just that we, the 5 of us, sort of coalesced into this group of guys who really couldn't find anywhere else that they were happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was great that we ended up in the Rivoli because it obviously touched music and beat poetry. A beat poet from New York would come, so it was the right place for us with a real. We didn't sit around saying we're counterculture, but we were into weird music. We played weird music between our scenes, and our thoughts were kind of odd. But
we didn't wear suits, and we swore on stage.
Well, you wore suits.
Yeah, I did. I wore suits.
Ironically.
Yeah.
And I think it were things that we didn't want to be rather than things we wanted to be. So I think we were pretty negative.
What were those things you didn't want to be?
We didn't want to be Yuck Yucks. We didn't want to be Second City.
We didn't want to be polite.
Yes.
And we didn't want to be separate from the audience, which was the big thing. Like Second City, when there was a rule you couldn't show up at the theater in your show clothes.
That's right.
Because that spoiled the magic. And
They had a lot of rules, and we didn't really have rules, and we still don't really.
I mean, we met our audience at the door as they were coming in. We'd be hanging out by the door, and did a lot of our sketches in the middle of the audience. And it was very much a kind of a conscious effort to break down the separation between the performers. And the
I don't even know any of that was going on. I just wanted to find a place that I could do my weird ideas.
So what was it like to take this subversive comedy and bring it to a place where now it's part of our comic history and our establishment? It's influenced so many people. How does that feel?
Well, our ideas may be weird, but they're obvious to us in a way. And I think all we did was kept working. And when we did the series and when we toured between, and even when we sort of did the movie, we just kept working. So the effect of what we were doing, we didn't know about because we had our heads down kind of in the comedy hole.
Yeah, it's true, and it was really the main goal was to fill up time and make each other laugh.
Yeah, I think society's changed. We never really changed.
Interesting.
Yeah. We sort of waited them to come to us.
But we seem a lot less shocking now when you look at us compared to stuff that's on TV now.
My word, the things that people get away with today.
Yeah.
Well, who inspires you today? I'll start with you, Bruce.
Well, there's all kinds of people. Like everybody I'm inspired both by the older people who are still doing it, be it blues musicians or whatever. And I'm working with a young troupe called Get Some. There's 30 fantastic troupes that you can see in Toronto at any time. Same with LA, same with New York. So I think there's a ton of people doing a lot of stuff, and of course music. So there's so much stuff I can't even name it.
What about you, Scott?
Well, Toronto's an incredible place right now for comedy. I mean, there's so much great stand-up, so much great sketch. It's very, very fertile. In terms of like people, bigger people, like in the public eye, I love Key and Peele. I love Amy Schumer. I guess those are my two favorite sketch shows right now. I like Nick Kroll. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of great sketch going on right now.
Yeah, I love Will Forte's new show.
I've not seen it, but I do love Will Forte.
Yeah, Last Man on Earth is great. And
actually, I like Sunnyside very much.
Yeah,
I like Schitt's Creek.
I haven't seen that yet. I was going to say I love Schitt's Creek. I love that Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara doing an amazing show right now.
They're hilarious.
It's great to see them back together.
Yeah. I'm curious about your relationship now versus back then. What's it like just as friends?
Well, I think we battled each other in our 20s because we were, we thought we were Oasis and we wanted to get more of our songs on the record. And I think now that we're older, we realize we're actually good friends and we can help each other kind of process their lives.
Yeah. And the sexual tension between Bruce and Dave is so much less now.
Yeah.
Well, they got it out of the way.
Yeah. Now
they
that
finally did it a couple days ago.
Yeah. And then I went in for, chemical castration.
That's right. Of course, I filmed it. We periscoped it, so the kids can see it if they want to watch a replay.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. It's on the National Geographic Channel.
Of course, Scott's only joking.
Of course.
The sexual tensions between him and I.
It's still there.
Exactly.
That's still there. That's still there.
Palpable in here.
Woo! I didn't think he'd go there.
It's hot in here.
So you guys begin in Toronto this week, Danforth Music Hall, as you said, and then you hit the rest of Canada after that. What are you hoping to get from the tour?
Really nothing. I don't really want to get anything.
Just to do it. I think it's important to lay it down every so often. If you think you're a really good comedy troupe, you gotta get out there and do it.
Yeah,
and that's what we're doing.
Good memories.
Yeah.
Relive the beautiful memories of.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we're looking. Also, I can't wait for that first really big screw up.
Yeah,
that's what I'm really excited about. When things go completely awry on stage.
And I hope to get laid in a certain percentage of the cities we go to.
I do too.
And by laid, he means make friends.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. That's the Kids in the Halls, Bruce McCulloch, Dave Foley, and Scott Thompson. They join me live in Studio Q.